During a business dinner, I unexpectedly ended up in bed with a supplier. Photos immediately went trending online. Everyone cursed me, calling me a vice president who slept her way to the top. My name became synonymous with a high-class call girl, a woman who sold her body. My dear husband slammed his hand on the table, threatening to attack the supplier with a knife. After everyone intervened, he dejectedly threw down the knife and spoke with difficulty. "Stella, why don't you resign for now? You can come back once this blows over." Overwhelmed with shame, I turned and left the office. That evening, I secretly went back to retrieve a photo of Arthur and me, but I unexpectedly overheard him talking to his close friend, Ethan. "For Luna, you actually let Mr. Vance drug and sexually assault your wife, and then put the photos trending online? Isn't that too cruel? What choice did I have? Luna is pregnant, and a divorce would mean giving her half my assets. I had no other option but to destroy her reputation. That way, she won't have the face to interfere with Luna and me. As long as she doesn't make a fuss, I'll support her for life. Luna won't try to take her place either." Luna, the dance student I sponsored. It turned out she had already been sleeping with my husband. I clutched the photo frame in my hand, letting the glass pierce my palm. I turned and dialed Mr. Henry, the client. "Mr. Henry, I agreed to divorce Arthur and marry your son. However, I want to be Everest's head of client relations." "Excellent. As long as you marry Julian, the entire Han family will be yours." I turned and strode towards the house. Entering the living room, I walked directly to the wine cabinet and opened a bottle of Arthur's prized Romani Conti. The $10 million red wine still tasted bitter and sour in my mouth. When returned, he found me sitting on the floor, crying uncontrollably. When he embraced me, he still carried the cool scent of orange blossom. It was Luna's distinctive fragrance. I grabbed Arthur desperately. "Arthur, call Luna. I'm feeling awful and want to talk to her." Arthur paused, then said hesitantly, "Stella, it's too late. Luna should be asleep now. Can we talk about it tomorrow?" I looked at him, laughing hoarsely, then smashed the bottle onto the coffee table with a bang. "Arthur, do you want me to die?" With that, tears streamed down my face. Arthur made the call. "Luna will be here right away. Don't be sad. You two girls can talk things out." Yes, all these years, I had confided everything to Luna, including intimate details about Arthur and me, and even the office's assets. Because we were both from an orphanage, I couldn't bear to see the fragile Luna endure hardships and drink with clients. I sponsored her from high school through university, and even sent her to study abroad for a year in the US. In my heart, she was family, my little sister. Yet, this very family member conspired with my husband to ruin my reputation and oust me from my position as co-founder. Luna arrived quickly. Her gaze first landed on Arthur's face, and he subtly gestured towards me. Luna immediately rushed over and hugged me, her face full of heartache and sadness. "Sister, don't be sad. I'm here. I believe you're innocent. I'll always support you. Don't worry. Sooner or later, I will kill that beast Lou to avenge you." Luna's tears fell on the back of my hand. If I hadn't overheard their conversation today, I would have truly believed my dear sister cared for me. I chuckled and then opened a bottle of vodka, handing it to her. "Luna, it's a good thing I have you. Drink with me." "Sister, I'm so miserable." Luna froze, instinctively hiding her hand behind her back. My expression suddenly turned cold. "Luna, what do you mean? Are you disgusted with me too?" With that, I tilted my head back and took a big gulp of vodka, then roared, "Get out, all of you. You're a bunch of ungrateful opportunists, only looking out for yourselves. I was blind. Tomorrow, I'm taking half the assets and leaving the country. I'm never coming back." Arthur panicked, and Luna's breathing grew heavy, a fine sheen of sweat appearing on her forehead. I wanted to force her to drink, to watch her panic and tremble with fear. The living room was silent. Finally, Arthur picked up the glass and placed it in front of Luna. "Luna, drink with your sister. She's heartbroken today." "Brother, Luna said, her face full of grievance. "Enough. Have you forgotten your sister's kindness? You won't even have a drink?" Finally, Luna, tears welling in her eyes, tilted her head back and drank a glass of 52 proof liquor. I smiled, satisfied. "Good, that's my sister. Keep drinking with me." Ultimately, Luna drank 3 glasses of vodka and rushed to the bathroom to vomit violently. When she emerged, I blinked. "Luna, It's been a while since I've seen you dance. Why don't you do a challenging dance move for your sister? With that, I pulled a chair over and pushed it in front of her. Luna's face turned pale, and her hand instinctively clutched her abdomen. Arthur also instinctively stepped in front of her to shield her. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. It was truly entertaining. Making a fool of someone like this was quite satisfying. Luna, have you changed? You're not willing to do anything your sister asks anymore? Finally, Luna, trembling, stood on the chair. Just as she began to spin, there was a sudden crash, and the chair and Luna fell to the ground. Luna clutched her stomach, wailing, "Brother, my stomach hurts." Arthur could no longer hide his concern. He scooped Luna up in his arms. "Luna, hang in there. I'm taking you to the hospital immediately." When returned, he looked exhausted, and a hint of suspicion entered his gaze as he looked at me. I immediately stepped forward, feigning guilt. "Arthur, I drank too much yesterday. Did I hurt Luna?" The moment my eyes reddened, Arthur sighed. All right. Luna just twisted her ankle. She'll be fine in a few days." I immediately nodded with red-rimmed eyes, offering to go care for Luna. Arthur immediately jumped at the opportunity, saying, "Stella, since you're going to take care of Luna, I'll handle the Everest Smart RD and production project." "Okay?" I scoffed internally. I had been preparing this project for over half a year, and now he wanted to effortlessly claim the credit? This project was a collaboration between the government and the central labs, led by Everest. I had talked myself hoarse and spent 2 months caring for Margaret, the paralyzed old lady, just to secure the rights to this collaboration. It signified Starlight entry into the technology industry and established a stable relationship with the government. Looking at Arthur's intense gaze, I smiled. "All right, whatever you say." Arthur was trying to gradually push me out of the office, but he didn't know that one day the entire Everest would belong to Stella. I could make this project succeed or fail as I pleased. Upon arriving at the hospital, Luna was indeed in the obstetrics and gynecology department. Seeing me, a flicker of panic crossed her pale face. "Sister, it was too late yesterday, and the orthopedic ward was full, so I had to temporarily stay here." I immediately hugged her, pretending to be heartbroken. "Luna, I'm sorry. It was my fault for losing control after drinking too much. Your sister is just so miserable." Then I told her about transferring the Smart RD and production project to her. "Luna, your sister will become a housewife from now on, with no ability to protect you anymore. So, while your sister still has connections, I'll make sure to arrange a good marriage for you. That way, if you become successful later, you can take care of your sister." Luna's already pale face grew even whiter, and she hastily said, "Sister, I'm still young, and I really haven't thought about getting married and settling down." I immediately shouted, feigning anger, "Luna, are you not listening to your sister anymore? Your brother-in-law already dislikes me, and now I suspect he's seeing someone else. If you hurt me like this too, I'll just take the money and leave, never bothering with any of you again." Luna's face flushed, and she finally nodded. "Okay, I'll listen to you, sister." 2 days later, at the lounge, Mr. Stanley, a 35-year-old lecher, arrived gleefully. His eyes widened at the sight of the elegant, young, and beautiful Luna. Luna and Arthur's expressions turned grim, and they exchanged glances. I quickly raised my glass. "Mr. Stanley, it's rare for us to gather. I'll drink this first as a toast." Mr. Stanley nodded profusely and shamelessly squeezed next to Luna. "Ms. Shen. No, sister, thank you first." Watching his fat hand land on Luna's waist, coupled with that "sister," I almost threw up from disgust. Arthur's face darkened, and he was about to erupt, but I quickly said in a wronged voice, "Husband, the big picture is important. You can't embarrass me in public." Mr. Stanley is quite smitten with Luna. He's pestered me over a dozen times. I couldn't outright refuse him, and besides, what if Luna ends up liking him? Arthur could only sit back down, fuming, and pour wine. At the table, Mr. Stanley no longer paid attention to me, pestering Luna with glass after glass. Luna's eyes reddened, and she could only endure the nausea and drink. After giving Mr. Stanley a meaningful look, I suddenly clutched my stomach and said, "Husband, my stomach hurts, and I feel nauseous. Please help me to the bathroom." Arthur, his face dark, reluctantly helped me up. a hint of impatience in his voice. You know you have a bad stomach, yet you still drink. How old are you? My eyes immediately reddened. Husband, are you disgusted with me? Years ago, I drank glass after glass to secure loans and orders, ending up in the hospital with stomach hemorrhages 5 times. If he dared to say another word now, I could slap him hard and walk away with half the assets. But he wouldn't dare, and I didn't want half. I wanted everything. Arthur immediately followed me out, patiently explaining, Wife, I didn't mean it that way. I'm worried about you. I immediately turned and threw myself into his arms. Husband, I'm so scared. Scared you'll dislike me for being old. Scared you'll think I'm sullied. Arthur could only hold me and gently comfort me. Before he could monopolize the assets, Arthur had to swallow a fly, even if it choked him. Just as Arthur and I were having a tender moment, screams and the sound of shattering porcelain suddenly erupted from the private room. Moments later, Mr. Stanley, his face covered in blood, dragged Luna, who was half naked, into the main hall. Bitch, I toasted you, and you tried to trick me with plain water? Are you trying to set me up? With that, he brutally pinched Luna's chest. You think you can seduce me with your measly assets? I've seen all kinds of women. Why would I want a girl from an orphanage like you? Everyone gathered around. Arthur and I immediately rushed over, and I decisively shielded Luna in my arms. I apologized profusely to Mr. Stanley and offered to pay him 10 times his medical expenses. Arthur then threatened to call the police, but I shot him a look. Arthur, do you want my sister to go trending online again? Then I looked at Luna with piercing eyes. Why didn't you drink? Luna instinctively covered her stomach. My gaze followed her, and I looked at her stomach in confusion. Are you pregnant? Luna forgot her tears and was stunned. I slapped Luna across the face. Tell me, did you become someone's mistress and get pregnant with a bastard child? Otherwise, why have you been hiding it from me? Arthur was also startled and immediately tried to pull me away. Stella, I slapped Arthur across the face with my other hand, glaring at him. Do you know about this too? Are you both conspiring to keep it from me? Arthur immediately stammered. I don't know. I just heard you say it. In his haste, he couldn't come up with a convincing excuse. I slapped Luna across the face again. How could you degrade yourself like this? I worked so hard to support you. Why would you destroy another family and become a mistress? Someone everyone despises? Do you just lose control whenever you see a man? Or are you naturally drawn to living in the mud? Did I ever make you want for money? In that moment, I played the role of an indignant, disappointed, and heartbroken older sister to perfection. All the guests gathered around, pointing and whispering. The reporters and bloggers I hired were snapping photos and videos. Take pictures. Write your stories. Since you made me famous, I will make you the mistress. Universally reviled. Even if you marry Arthur in the future, you'll still be a slut despised by all. Luna, dazed by my repeated slaps, finally shrieked. It's Kevin, my ex-boyfriend's. He came for a business trip that day, and we both drank too much, and then we ended up together. I immediately slapped her again. You're so shameless. Kevin is already married with a 2-year-old child. Do you just have to be his mistress? Luna was even more stunned. I immediately pointed at her nose and cursed. How shameless are you? Can't you live without being a mistress? Yes. You and Kevin were close back then. You two would spend nights in secluded spots on campus, even getting intimate on the campus hill every day until midnight. The skin on your back was raw, and the school caught you several times. But I was the one who bailed you out. But he's married now. Are you still going to have his bastard child? Luna was completely dumbfounded, her eyes darting towards Arthur. Arthur's face was darker than the bottom of a pot, his eyes seething with anger. Finally, he threw his sleeves and walked away. Having slapped and cursed enough, I pulled out a wad of cash and threw it at Luna's face. Go get an abortion immediately, or don't ever appear at my house again. I'm utterly disgusted. As soon as I entered the house, feeling refreshed, Henry called me. Ms. Shen, you can come to the office tomorrow to discuss the collaboration and, while we're at it, your marriage to my son. I hummed softly. It was already widely known in the industry that Henry's son was paralyzed and obsessed with painting, rarely involving himself in the office's affairs. Henry, seeing his century-old legacy without an heir, had grown many white hairs. Daughters from prominent families looked down on his son. and those from humble backgrounds couldn't support the Hahn family's billions. Since I had cared for Margaret for 2 months, coupled with my shrewdness in business and exceptional talent, Henry had hinted many times, both openly and covertly, that he wanted me to be his daughter-in-law. Entering Group's CEO office, Henry's eyes twinkled with a smile. Daughter-in-law, look, I'm already decorating Crescent Estate. The entire hill is planted with roses, and on that day, I plan to use 88 helicopters. I chuckled softly. Mr. Hahn, I haven't divorced yet. Let's discuss the marriage after Arthur has been dealt with. Henry immediately decided. I've already announced it. You are now the new head of Smart RD and Production. You'll be responsible for liaising with the research labs and the municipal government. I immediately nodded in agreement, outlining my strategy to ensnare Arthur. Arthur, you stole my project, so you better be able to handle it, or you'll drag the entire office down. Henry took me to the RD and production team and introduced me to Mr. James, the project manager. Mr. James's expression was a little unnatural when he saw me. In the past, I had shamelessly chased him down, trying to secure production rights. Now, I was his leader. I patted his shoulder. Mr. James, I'll need your help with the follow-up. Just report to me regularly. Seeing my confident demeanor, Mr. James immediately became serious. We both sat down to discuss the subsequent production of the new smart robots. I looked at Mr. James. Tomorrow, Arthur will come to sign the contract. You are not to sign it yet. Use the excuse that you need to inspect the factory's production capabilities. Mr. James looked at me in confusion. I smiled mysteriously. Mr. James, our goal is to acquire, not to collaborate. Understand? Mr. James suddenly understood and nodded. The next day, Arthur arrived full of vigor with his assistant, as if this project was something he had diligently secured over half a year. I sat next door, watching him through a large screen. Mr. James did not disappoint. He acted enthusiastic but responsible, saying he needed to inspect Starlight's factory before signing the contract. Following my instructions, Mr. James brought up concerns about outdated machinery and safety hazards. In the end, Arthur had no choice but to agree to replace some of the equipment. 3 days later, Arthur and Mr. James inspected the factory again. Mr. James nodded in satisfaction, promising to report to the research labs and sign the contract immediately. Arthur was overjoyed, shaking Mr. James's hand repeatedly, expressing his profound gratitude. When he returned home, Arthur's face was beaming with triumph. He even openly brought Luna to sit in the living room. I narrowed my eyes at Luna and said coldly, "Did you get the abortion?" Arthur immediately erupted in anger. "Stella, how could you be so vicious? That's still a life." Then he said impatiently, "I've already talked it over with Luna. We're keeping this child. I'll be his godfather. I'm the esteemed CEO of Starlight. Can't I afford to raise a child?" I sneered at Arthur. "You'll raise him? Is his biological father dead? Or in prison for murder and arson? What right do you have to raise him?" Arthur's face immediately changed. He slammed his cup on the dining table with a crash, and the splashing fragments cut my face. I wiped away a drop of blood. Luna immediately fell to her knees in front of me with a thud. "Sister, please, let me have the baby. I really can't bear to lose it. He's my flesh and blood." Arthur immediately helped Luna up tenderly. "Luna, you're heavy. Get up." Luna immediately threw herself into Arthur's arms and started crying. "Brother, please don't be angry with sister. It's all my fault." Watching the two of them in their passionate embrace, I sneered, then turned and went upstairs, making a phone call. "Tomorrow, tell Arthur to expand the factory. Say that the research lab's goal is to go national, and his qualifications aren't enough." The next day, Arthur, full of ambition, took the contract to Everest, but Mr. James threw it onto the table. "Mr. Pay, I've fought hard for you, but your current facility really isn't sufficient. You must expand. Don't worry, as soon as the new plant is built, I'll sign the contract immediately." On the screen, Arthur left dejectedly. I immediately instructed Mr. James, "Give him a little something sweet. Send him the new robot data. If he's willing, he can start trial production." That evening, Arthur took Luna out for a Western dinner to celebrate. Their glasses clinked in a toast. Luna brazenly posted on social media, "With your lifelong protection, this life is enough." Arthur began to halt production to expand the factory, and a month later, the first batch of new smart robots went into trial production. When he excitedly took the samples to Everest, Mr. James told him to go to the Hyatt Star. The moment he pushed open the door, Arthur was stunned. A large red banner read, "Celebrating Group and Summer Smart RD Signing." On stage, I, in a red dress, was shaking hands with the CEO of Summer, celebrating the successful conclusion of the signing ceremony. Mr. James stood prominently beside me, applauding. Arthur's eyes widened, looking at me in shock, then at Mr. James, before furiously exclaiming, "Stella, what are you doing here? You've been expelled from Starlight. What right do you have to represent Starlight and decide on the smart RD signing ceremony?" I smiled mysteriously. "Who said I represent Starlight? I represent Everest, the client." Arthur's face changed. He trembled, pointing at me. "Stella, impossible. You're nothing but a housewife now. How could you possibly represent Everest?" I slowly pulled out Everest's appointment letter and jabbed it at his face. "Arthur, I am now the project manager. The contract has already been signed with Summer. You're out." Arthur's eyes were bloodshot. He snatched the appointment letter and tore it to shreds. "Stella, you're insane. Do you know what you're doing? Why didn't you give the project to Starlight? Are you trying to destroy the office we worked so hard to build?" I looked up at Arthur coldly. "I'm not the one destroying Starlight. You are." "Arthur, you didn't think that after all this, I still wouldn't know anything, did you?" I turned and projected the recording I heard in the office onto the large screen. Arthur's voice was clear and cold. "What choice did I have? Luna is pregnant, and a divorce would mean giving her half my assets. I had no other option but to destroy her reputation. That way, she won't have the face to interfere with Luna and me. As long as she doesn't make a fuss, I'll support her for life. Luna won't try to take her place either." I pressed the remote control, and the scene showed Luna throwing herself into Arthur's arms, kissing him impatiently, and moments later, her clothes were shed. I pressed the fast-forward button, and Arthur's conversation with Mr. Vance played. "Mr. Vance, during the dinner, you added a strong sedative to Stella's drink, then carried her to a room and undressed her. As long as you can get photos of the two of you together, I'll give you all the profits from this deal, and future collaboration prices will be 2 points lower for you." Mr. Vance's timid voice responded, "Mr. Pay, MS. Shin has been good to me, and she's your partner through thick and thin. Wouldn't you turn on me later?" Arthur sneered. "Mr. Vance, a man of substance doesn't quibble over small details when achieving great things. Stella interferes too much. Women are better off being obedient wives and good mothers. As long as we have proof of her infidelity, she'll never be able to act so arrogantly again." The hall erupted in an instant. "He looks respectable, but I never expected him to be so vicious, sending his own wife to another man's bed. Is he even human?" "Exactly. MS. Shin worked tirelessly, enduring so much hardship with him, and for the sake of his lust, he resorts to such underhanded tricks. I used to think he was an upright man, capable of forgiving his wife's infidelity. Thankfully, MS. Shin is smart and exposed his ugly face. Otherwise, our high society would have one more scoundrel who might bite us someday." The guests present today were the elite of Riverton City's wealthy families. Everyone sneered at Arthur's ugly and despicable behavior, looking at him as if he were a cockroach. Arthur's face was ashen, his chest heaving violently. His eyes were wide, as if he wanted to pounce and bite me. This time, Arthur went trending online. The furious public opinion almost drowned Arthur and Luna. My perception of morality is shattered. Sending his wife to another man's bed, fighting to be a cuckold for money? Stella is too pitiful. She gave her youth and talent to the office, and all she got in return was this scheme. The mistress should die. A real-life farmer and the snake. Luna is the venomous snake. Arthur and Luna became pariahs. Their past was dug up. Luna, a poor girl from a remote town, because her family had a preference for sons. They tried to sell her to get money for her brother's wedding. She ran away and ended up working in a bar, where she unexpectedly met me. Seeing her tragic background, I sponsored her through high school and for her beloved dance lessons. I remembered the cold rain I had endured, and didn't want her to experience the same. Unexpectedly, once she had achieved her dreams, she turned her first blade against me. They dared not go out, dared not go online, especially, who could only hide at home all day with her pregnant belly. like a cornered beast. But this was far from enough. They hadn't paid back what they owed me. Because of Arthur's shameless actions, all clients cancelled their contracts and turned to me, willing to collaborate with Everest. Starlight lost most of its clients overnight, and its stock price plummeted. And his expanded factory, the newly acquired machinery, much of it was financed by bank loans. Now all he had left was a pile of trial-produced smart robots that couldn't be sold because the production rights now belonged to Summer. Starlight instantly became a shell, teetering on the brink of collapse. Arthur, once so arrogant, had many white hairs overnight. On a rainy night, he found Everest and knelt before me, begging for my forgiveness. I watched his pathetic figure in the wind and rain coldly. Arthur, when you and Luna slept together, did you think of me? When you conspired with an outsider to drug me and ruin my reputation, did you ever think this day would come? Arthur, you asked me to forgive you for the sake of our marriage. First, deal with the child in Luna's belly. Then we can talk about marital affection. That day, Arthur returned home and forced a 7-month pregnant Luna to get an abortion. Luna stubbornly refused, so Arthur had to buy abortifacients and force her to swallow them. According to the villa's maid, Luna's screams echoed all night, terrifyingly shrill. The next day, the maid opened the room to find blood everywhere. She finally called 911, and due to severe hemorrhage, Luna's uterus ultimately had to be removed. Arthur came to me again, his face weary and haggard. Stella, I've aborted the child, and I'll never see her again. Please give me another chance. I turned and threw the divorce papers in front of him, laughing hollowly. Arthur, do you even consider yourself human? That was your own son. You just aborted him like that? It turns out that in your heart, money triumphs over everything. Destroying your wife, killing your child, what more wicked things are you capable of? Arthur slumped against the wall, his eyes red, glaring at me. Stella, why are you pushing me like this? Even if it's my fault, how can you be so cruel? We once loved each other, didn't we? Can't you give me one more chance? I looked at him and said calmly, yes, I did love you. I would even risk my life to save you when we were robbed. But I loved the Arthur who stayed by my bedside for 3 days when I was sick. The Arthur who used his last dollar to buy me a hot dog. Sadly, that Arthur is dead. For a moment, I thought of the year we lived in a basement apartment. That was our purest love. We shared a thin blanket, holding each other tightly for warmth. At our poorest, we couldn't even afford sanitary pads. Arthur, with tears in his eyes, went to unload a truck at the supermarket, eventually exchanging his labor for a bucket of instant noodles and a package of sanitary pads. That day, he placed the instant noodles in front of me, wiping the dust from his face, and said the boss had treated him to roast chicken. But the rumbling of his stomach soon betrayed his lie. That day, we ate the bucket of instant noodles with tears in our eyes. The next day, I knelt in the bank president's office, mortgaging myself for a $10,000 loan. We encouraged each other, gritting our teeth and pushing forward, from a street stall to a physical store, and then into a listed company. Arthur, my beloved is dead. The current you is just a vicious, selfish stranger. Why should I forgive you? I slipped off the silver ring I bought when we got married and threw it at Arthur's face. Arthur's body trembled violently. He covered his face and crouched on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Arthur, sign the divorce papers and get out. Not suing you for sexual assault is my greatest mercy. I smiled at him. When we meet again, it will only be as adversaries, and I will show no quarter. With that, I turned and left, no longer wanting to hear his pleas and heartbreaking cries. A month later, Arthur and I divorced. Henry happily took me back to the family estate. In the garden, I saw a pale profile, sitting in a wheelchair, intently painting a distant sunset. The moment he looked up at the sound of my arrival, I was startled by his full face. His skin was as fair as jade, his eyebrows like distant mountains, and his peach blossom eyes held a calm dignity within their sharp, yet delicate, contours. My heart fluttered. What if I married a disabled man? This exquisite beauty would be a joy to behold even lying beside me. Thinking this, I shamelessly walked over. Hello, my name is Stella. The man lowered his gaze, slowly painting the last stroke. The moment he looked up, my heart fluttered again. Indeed, beauty is often envied by heaven. Such a handsome man. If he weren't disabled, how many women would throw themselves at him without hesitation? Are you the wife the old man picked out for me? Before I could speak, he said indifferently, it doesn't matter who you are, As long as the old man likes you. If you want to have children soon after we marry, I can try IVF. However, my only request is that you don't interfere with my private life. I was stunned. So direct? I awkwardly turned my gaze to the painting, scrutinizing it carefully. I couldn't help but marvel at Julian's masterful brushwork and exquisite use of color. I reached out and pointed to a spot. Mr. Han, the setting sun has a lingering charm. So why are the woods colored while everything else is silent? A living painting has vitality. Julian looked at the painting, then studied me with an inquisitive gaze. You understand painting? I said regretfully. I wasn't as fortunate as you. Born in an orphanage. No matter how much I loved it, I could only deal with the world of commerce. Julian turned his wheelchair, moving it aside. You try. Looking at the vibrant paints, I suddenly felt a stirring desire. I decisively sat down and began to paint slowly. After a long while, a scene emerged, a small, misty alley stretched out, and at the end of the stone street, a ragged girl looked up at the sky. Julian gazed at it for a long time, finally saying in a low voice, "Is the girl you?" I said firmly, "Yes, because I always believed that the sun would shine on me." That day, we talked about Van, about Sue. That evening, Henry handed me the stock transfer agreement. Stella, thank you. This is the first time he's been so happy talking to an outsider. It turned out that Julian was not born disabled. When he was 16, after countless arguments, Henry threw Julian's competition artwork downstairs. Julian then leaped down, and that's how he became disabled. From then on, father and son became estranged. Henry felt guilty and tried every explanation, but Julian remained cold and distant, only saying, "It's all in the past." From that day on, I worked during the day, and in the evening, I returned to study painting with Julian. A month later, Julian and I skipped the engagement and went straight to getting our marriage certificate, because I found that being with Julian was so peaceful and comfortable. There was no vigilance, no scheming, only a tranquil life. It was the first time my restless heart found a resting place. We agreed, not wanting a lavish wedding. We just went on a trip together. When we returned, Starlight officially declared bankruptcy. That day, the car happened to pass by the Starlight entrance. All the workers were blocking the entrance, loudly demanding their overdue wages. Arthur's crumpled suit hung loosely on him, and his hair was greasy and plastered to his forehead. He was desperately trying to explain and pacify the workers, promising that once the backlog of products was dealt with, the overdue wages would definitely be paid. However, the workers were rioting fiercely, pushing him tightly against the glass door, behind which was the court seizure notice. The moment he saw me, Arthur's gaze was stunned. Then he turned his head away in embarrassment. I calmly pressed the accelerator and left. Without getting out of the car, I thought things would end there, that Arthur had finally paid back everything. Unexpectedly, Luna turned around and sued him in court for violating a woman's will and forcing her to have an abortion, demanding compensation for her losses, medical expenses, emotional damages, and physical harm, totaling $5 million. Arthur was summoned to court. Because the evidence was conclusive, he faced not only financial compensation but also imprisonment. Arthur immediately started fighting with Luna on the spot, cursing her as a bitch and an ungrateful animal. Luna also cursed him as an animal. "Arthur, how high and mighty do you think you are? How good was Stella to you? She always considered your reputation, fought to build this empire with you, and took meticulous care of you, yet you still maliciously harmed her. Arthur, you're such a wolf. Do you think I'd dare to spend my life with you? With an animal like you, I'd be afraid of not living to old age. No wonder you went bankrupt. This is your just desserts." Ultimately, the court intervened to stop the brawl and, ruling on the spot, sentenced Arthur to 8 years in prison and ordered him to compensate Luna $500,000 in economic damages. When I heard the news, I was violently throwing up into the toilet. After the doctor's diagnosis, I discovered I was 1 month pregnant. Julian immediately spun his wheelchair in surprise and called his dad. "Dad, Stella's pregnant. Come back quickly." At that moment, the other end of the phone burst into tears of joy. Henry's voice trembled as he repeatedly exclaimed, "Good, good." The moment Henry rushed into the living room, his eyes were still red. He gazed at Julian and simply said, "Son, you're going to be a father." Julian's eyes also reddened. He turned his wheelchair and embraced Henry. That day, the multi-story villa was filled with long-lost laughter and a festive atmosphere. Henry, with his usual lack of subtlety, handed me a stack of property deeds. Daughter-in-law, this is a private island I bought for you. You can go there for vacation and relax whenever you like. This is a multi-story villa I bought for you. It's spacious, and the air is good there. This is an amusement park I bought for my grandson. When he grows up, he can take his friends to play there. How impressive for him. The next day, I woke up to unexpectedly find Julian sitting by the bed, staring at my belly. Stella, if you want, I can help you at the office. I can start physical therapy. The doctor said I can recover. I carefully looked at Julian's slightly red eyes. What a sweet fool. He must have been sitting there, lost in thought all night. I couldn't help but want to tease him. Are you really willing to give up your paintings, your trophies, and no longer become the next Van? Julian's gaze shifted slightly, and he said firmly, I don't want you to work so hard. I reached out and placed his hand on my face. Julian, you've also been through so much, striving for your own dreams. At that moment, Julian's tears flowed. This was the first time someone had told him he worked hard. Instead of calling him an unproductive good-for-nothing, it was the first time his ideals and plans had been affirmed. I ruffled his hair. Julian, one person in our family dabbling in the world of commerce is quite enough. I hope you can also fulfill my dreams for me. Standing on the international stage, Julian wrapped his arm around me and pulled me into his embrace. Okay, I promise I won't let you down. Julian began to actively accept treatment, receiving acupuncture, electrotherapy, and medication every day. He lost a lot of weight. I hugged him tenderly, telling him not to rush, to take his time. Julian gently stroked my belly. Stella, I hope the first time our baby sees me, it won't be as a dad in a wheelchair. I want to stand beside you, holding our baby in a crowd. When I was 8 months pregnant, I sued to reclaim the $2 million in communal property Arthur had gifted to Luna. I wasn't short on money, but I wouldn't leave it to someone so heartless. When I excitedly returned to the family estate with the court judgment, I saw a tall, slender figure standing in the light. The moment he turned, my heart skipped a beat. He was dashing and refined, looking like a vision under the lights, a gentleman of unparalleled charm. I ran and leaped into his arms. Julian stumbled slightly but held me steady, his alluring eyes sparkling. Wifey, I know your husband is handsome, but you don't have to be so eager to throw yourself into my arms. Our son is watching. You know. I immediately punched him lightly, burying my face deep in his embrace. It felt wonderful. We had succeeded in the first step on our journey towards our dreams. 5 years later, Julian's paintings won a gold medal internationally, and I was also listed on the Forbes list of the wealthiest. On this day, Julian held our son and took my hand, walking onto the international award stage. Under the spotlights, we embraced each other tightly. All the shattered pieces, those dark memories of the past, faded away with the wind. What awaited us was a new beginning, a pursuit of even grander ideals. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.